Hello, and in today's video we are doing an FPL preview for game week number 2. That's right, last week we scored ourselves a very tasty 78 points with some nice differentials. The likes of Dejan Kulusevski at 6.6% ownership, coming in with a 13-point haul. And we of course got the 13-point haul from Erlang Harland. What a great decision. Went with him over Kane. But we now preview game week 2. Before we do that, do smash a like on the video. Do make sure you're subscribed and stay to watch the end of the video because you can find out how to join the FPL Yellow Army Mini League. That is, of course, FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion. But let's get into my preview by looking ahead to game week 2. Before we do that, here is my game week 1 final results. So, as you can see here, my game week 1 final results. We can look at the goalkeeper, and that was, of course, Ward in the sticks. Very decent as a 4 million option. As an FPL option, obviously, last week was a shame. But just the 1 point. At the end of the day, we're not going to get too downhearted about it because it was a risk. We knew the risk we were taking, and it didn't pay off. Ultimately, Leicester are not a very good defence, and we should probably kind of appreciate that a little bit more. But it was just one of those things. Danny Ward, I don't mind, but you had to back it because the fixture was better, and I was always going to start him this game week, so I don't really have any regrets. It's just a shame that he conceded 2 goals, especially when they were 2-0 up at that time. But it is what it is. Looking at our defence then, and Trent Alexander-Arnold coming in with the 1-pointer against Fulham. Not exactly ideal. I would have liked a lot better from him. A bit frustrating, if I'm honest, because against Fulham you thought there'll be some attacking threat there, but they didn't show any. And defensively he was a bit suspect, so I'm going to definitely keep Trent. Don't get cold feet on him because he's one of those seasoned keepers. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame to get that 1-pointer. Kyle Walker, of course, West Ham away was a fixture I thought City would keep a clean sheet in. They did just that, and I'm very happy with that. But let's see what we do with Kyle Walker in future game weeks because Manchester City have just signed Sergio Gomez at left back, and I wonder how that affects Kyle Walker's minutes. But as a differential, very lowly owned, and getting those clean sheets for only 5 million, it was a good punt that I took in game 1 that paid off. So happy to have him right now in my team, but we'll see what we do with him. However, the clean sheet is much needed. Talking of clean sheets for Man City, Gerard Concello did just the same, and he didn't just do that, and despite getting the most pointless yellow card by showing binoculars to the linesman, which I don't know what he was thinking, he still gets 2 bonus points because of how attacking he is, how far forward he goes with the ball, and how much of a threat he looks with his touches and his passes. So that is why Gerard Concello is so good to own, because he gets those bonus points even on a booking, and even when he doesn't bring in the attacking returns, which he so often does. So he's a great own for me this season, and I don't think he's going to be playing less because of Sergio Gomez. I think still Cancelo is one of the favourites in that City defence, and Pep Guardiola clearly loves him, so it's fair enough. But lovely 7-point haul for him last week. So that was a nice thing to have the double City defence, both get clean sheets, and of course both of them return with a nice set of points. And then of course Andrew Robertson, and I don't regret this. I still believe that is the best triple for Liverpool. It was an unfortunate result obviously because we expected Fulham to concede a few and maybe a clean sheet to go in there for a nice 12-pointer, but the double Liverpool defence I still feel is the way to go. With Nunez, yet he's very tempting as an option, but will he start every game? And even if he does, I feel like Robertson offers more because of the fact he's 2 million cheaper and he's so attacking when he's on form. So hopefully he'll be on form a bit more in the next couple of games. But even in the Fulham game, he had that chance that was given offside, but really was getting in attacking positions, got a shot away, got blocked. So Robertson, I feel like, is a nice differential that if you think he's the better option out of him or Diaz or Nunez, then it makes sense to really back it all the way because Liverpool have got some great fixtures for clean sheets. Just didn't happen in game week 1, but we don't panic. It's only one game week, and I'm sure Liverpool will want to bounce back from that. Moving on to our midfield then, from game week 1, and Mo Salah, the captain, of course, he didn't disappoint. He never does in Game Week 1. 24-point haul, 12 points in all, and he just always scores on Match Week 1. Another goal and an assist. Really, really good from Mo Salah. And obviously, Liverpool are going to play differently now. They've got Nunez in the team. Salah's going to play a bit more wide, as we saw for the way that Mohamed Salah created that goal, that backheel flick from Darwin Nunez. So I do feel like Salah's role in the Liverpool team will change with their new additions, but I still don't think that his output will change because, yes, at 13 million, he's a lot to pay for, but I think across the season and just each game week, he is so good as a captain option. I get people's kind of argument with Nunez and Diaz instead of Salah, but for me, I would just be too scared. I don't have the balls to not have Mohamed Salah because he is the king of FPL, undisputedly. So I just think he is so good, he can punish you any game week, and he's a great captain option if the fixtures aren't bad for or are bad for other players. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Mohamed Salah, lovely stuff, and he's got a nice fixture again this game week, who he always scores against Crystal Palace. So let's see what we do about that. Then Martinelli, first goal scorer of the new season. That's always nice to own him, and to see that he's on this nice goal scoring run. He scored 2 games in a row, and if he scores in game week 2 against Leicester City, that'll be the first time he's scored 3 games on the spin. So certainly he feels so good in right now, and 6 million is a great value. With Emil Smith-Rowe in pre-season really not doing enough and being injured and not quite looking fit enough. So Martinelli is certainly the favourite as it stands, and I think that will stay that way for a little bit longer. And while it does, that this is some great points that we can get because, nice goal against Crystal Palace with the header, of course, assisted with a header by Zinchenko. And, with the great thing about Martinelli is he's cheap, but he's also playing out of position. This is a midfielder in the game, but he's kind of playing as a second striker with, Jesus. So it makes sense. And with Arsenal's fixtures, Leicester, Bournemouth, Fulham coming up, it really does look a great own at the moment. Moving on to the rest of our midfield, Pedro Neto, of course, blanked in his away trip to Leeds. Look, at the end of the day, a lot of people were overhyped about Neto and Bailey. Both of them blanked. But I prefer Neto as an option because at 5 million price point is quite hard to move to if you're on Bailey. Like, there's no one else you're really going to want unless you have money in the bank. So it's quite nice, that price point. There are a lot of 5.5 options. You look someone like Damsgaard, who's just come in at Brentford. He's got good fixtures in the kind of coming weeks. So that could be one I could switch to. But for now, Pedro Neto, I mean, there might be a bit of Portuguese bias here because I, do like him as a player. But I thought he actually played really well against Leeds. He looked quite involved in the attack, was getting the attack going, and kind of created the majority of that build-up to the goal from Pedence. Obviously, Pedence at the same price is interesting, but it's not worth switching to him because it's just too much of a sideways move. And I think Neto could outperform Pedence eventually. So it's kind of one of those things. Are we going to be patient with him? Well, with Wolves fixtures against Fulham, and then in game week 4, they've got a nice fixture as well. So I'm very tempted to keep him and just kind of see how he gets on. Certainly this week against Fulham, yes, they were good last week, but at home you'd fancy Pedro Neto to do something. So let's see what he can do, and let's assess that in a future game week. Moving on to the rest of our midfield, we've got Dejan Kulusevski, who he was my differential of the week, and he really did come in clutch with those 13 points. I was very happy with that. Obviously last season I didn't own him all of the season, and I just thought I would start with him because, I was really impressed with how he did last season. He was quite an underrated FPL asset, and I thought, well, a lot of people were saying, well, you need to get Saka and Diaz, but I was like, well, I prefer Robbo and I prefer Kulusevski, so it just made sense in my head, and boy, did it pay off, and I was really happy with that great haul. A Southampton team that were defensively all over the place, but look, you're going to take advantage of the fact he's up against Musa Gineppo. Like, that's an absolute field day, so we'll absolutely be loving that. Looking at our front two then in the team, Erling Harland, what a way to start his Premier League career. I mean, he was electric, and 13 points, just as I predicted on my Twitter. Well, that was quite a satisfying thing to see. So yeah, really great haul from Harland. Really looking forward to more points, hopefully, in game week 2 against Bournemouth. But look, at the end of the day, I can't ask for any more than that from Erling. And, just to be on penalties is just game changer, an absolute game changer. hopefully he keeps them for the foreseeable future. But he's just so dangerous, and I think everyone is bringing him in for Harry Kane this game week. So absolutely love that from Erling Harland, and he's one of the best strikers in the world. So we certainly know how good this guy is. And then Gabrielle Jesus, obviously a frustrating blank, and it's a bit of a classic FPL moment with the high rank, the high ownership, I should say, of Gabrielle Jesus going into Game Week 1, around about 76%, which is a record of any game week, let alone Game Week 1. But yeah, it's typical that he blanks, but I actually thought he played quite well, and I think it'd be silly to sell him now ahead of great fixtures for Arsenal when, Jesus was unlucky. He created a few moments, but ultimately didn't lead to anything. The run he made for that Martinelli chance early on was really good. He got past a few players, and then obviously Martinelli put it wide, so that would have gone down as an FPL assist. So look, Jesus, I don't think he's going to be blanking for that much longer. Hopefully that will be some goals against the Foxes, but let's see what happens with that. And then looking at our bench quickly from Game Week 1, we of course had Robert Sanchez on the bench against Manchester United. I still don't regret that decision. Obviously, in hindsight, I'd have played Sanchez, but I thought United would score at least one. They did do that, but I didn't expect from 2-0 up Leicester to implode. So it is what it is. Brentford at home was a much better fixture than Manchester United away at the time of locking in my team. After watching the game, obviously I believe that Brentford now are a better team, but still, I feel like that was always going to happen. I was always going to pick that. And at the end of the day, it's only 3 points, so it really makes very little difference. But the great thing about owning these two is that they rotate really well, kind of the opening game week. So it's good to kind of have both of them in my artillery if I need to use them. And he's certainly a good shot stopper, Sanchez, with the amount of saves he made. That's encouraging for going forward in future game weeks for my team. So yeah, don't mind too much about that. Niko Williams, 0 points. Glad I benched him, to be honest, but ultimately he showed a lot of attacking signs that were encouraging. Forest, they weren't great, I can't lie. They did well in the kind of most of the stages of the first half to kind of keep Newcastle at bay with their defence. They were quite stubborn. From an attacking point of view, they were quite limp, really. But obviously Newcastle scored, that took away the clean sheet, and then Newcastle scored again. But honestly, Nico Williams did look some kind of attacking options, and he did look quite threatening. So he was putting in crosses. That header that was headed over by Sam Surridge, that could have been an assist. So he's offering good signs, and for a 4-mil defender that we think might be the next Lundstrom or Dallas, he might have that potential, but let's kind of wait and see on that. He's easily one of those players you can bench and not have to worry about too much. Looking at the rest of our bench, we've got Andreas Pereira, who, let's be honest, is a 5.5 million midfielder priced at 4.5 million. The fact he's on free kicks, corners, and he just looks so threatening, and he looked fantastic against Liverpool, as did Fulham as a whole. So he's a really good own to have, and in my opinion, he's still better than De Silva at 4.5, despite the fact De Silva scored that goal against Leicester, because I just don't know how nailed De Silva is. As good as he was, will he play every week? Will he get as forward and as attacking as that goal against Leicester every week? I'm not sure, especially with the signing of Damsgaard. And they've still got players to come back, Brentford. So I kind of worry about how nailed De Silva is. We know Andreas is going to play, and we know that Brentford obviously are a better attack than Fulham's, but at the same time, they've got similar kind of fixture runs. So when Andreas, for instance, plays in Game Week 3, he's got Brentford, and De Silva's got Fulham. So the fixtures are actually quite good for Brentford, but they're all equally good for Fulham as long as you bench in the games that are tougher. So I'm happy with Andreas, and the fact he's on set pieces is just really, really a big added bonus. And it's, good thing I benched him this week with a 2-pointer. And then, of course, Cameron Archer. Apologies for the graphics. It seems to have glitched out a little bit there. But the point is, Cameron Archer is a great asset to own for a 4.5 million forward. Ultimately, there's not a lot of pickings in that kind of price bracket, so don't get too fussed about it. But he is a very good option still because he came off the bench. He could get a few minutes this season. And obviously, you look at other 4.5 options like Keenan Davis. He's now gone off to Watford, so he's not going to be in the Premier League. And also players like Sam Greenwood, although he did come on for Leeds, I just worry how far down the pecking order he is when you look at players like Gelhardt, Bamford, Rodrigo, and they could, still have, other players in that attacking position. So Whereas with Archer, they've only really got Ings and Watkins to kind of rotate with each other, and then Archer to come on as the third striker. So I think, to be fair, it's kind of one of those positions that doesn't really matter in your team, but I'm happy with it for now, that's for sure. So all in all, a very good game week 1. I was very happy with it, I can't lie. It was one of those game weeks where it just seemed like most things went right. And that's always a nice kind of feeling when you kind of have a game week where it feels right, it feels very, very solid. And as we can see there, 78 points for game week 1. Moving on to game week 2 then. Let's have a little look. And before we do, let me tell you about the FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion Super League. Of course, my mini league. If you want to join it, the code is 69FEQI. And let's have a little look at the standings after one match week, the top 10 in the league. So, sitting in first after the first game week is in fact, Jambo's Giants, Craig Broom. Well done, mate. On Twitter, he can be found at FPL Jambo. Impressive stuff. 92 points. Very good start. Obviously, it's very early days, but, very good way to begin the season. In second, we've got Mike Halpin. That is Lacus Fridge FC with a very respectable 84 points. In third, Sumava Gango Padhayai. That is, of course, Abhijatri Sangha with a very decent 84 points. So he's joint second with Mike. In fourth then, with 81 points, Muheki Oscar with his team name Romelu and Juliet FC. Very good team name, I've got to say. In fifth place, it's Chris Porter with 79 points. Botman returns. Guessing he's probably a Newcastle fan, but you never know. In sixth place, it's Oakmere 11, Charlie Lord with a very good 78 points. And joint in sixth, of course, is your Motherwell, Bradley Lawson, 78. And of course, yourself, FPL Yellow Army with 78. And in eighth place, there isn't anyone because, believe it or not, people, someone else scored 78 points. In sixth, joint, I'm a Break Yashins with Thomas Moore, 78 points. And then in 10th place, we've got Bertie Jagung, MD Farhan with 77 points. And then finally, in 10th, the joint 10th, to finish up the top 10, it's Botman and Ruben, James Walton with 77 points. So that's the mini league as it stands after match week 1. Let's have a little look at my game week 2 team selection then. So let's start off in goal. We've got Robert Sanchez. The reason we're going for Robert Sanchez is because he has a much better fixture than Danny Ward does, who has Arsenal away. Sanchez has Newcastle at home, and yes, Newcastle were good last week, but I think at home Brighton will be solid. Sanchez made an impressive amount of saves that convinces me to start him this week, and yes, you'd argue that it's not the easiest fixture, but Brighton are a very good defence as a whole, so I think I see them getting a clean sheet here and hopefully some save points as well for Robert Sanchez. Let's see our back four then. Trent Alexander-Arnold against Crystal Palace. He offers such attacking threat, and every single game week I just feel like he is a great own. Obviously last week didn't go to plan, but Crystal Palace did look a little bit dodgy against Arsenal, so hopefully he can get on the score sheet, and he has scored in the past against Crystal Palace with a free kick. I think it was the 1920 season, top bins. Let's have another one of those, please. Kyle Walker at home to Bournemouth. Now, I mentioned the signing of Sergio Gomez, which is obviously not fantastic timing, but I don't think Sergio Gomez will be registered in time to at least start the game. I would imagine Kyle Walker, for now, starts against Bournemouth, and to be honest, that's all I really want. I want that triple city for this lovely home fixture against Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth were impressive last week, but City are a different level, and they can make decent teams look awful. And you just fancy that City defence. They're very strong right now, and Bournemouth, they will score goals at points in the season, but against that tough City defence, it will be a difficult one. So hopefully some clean sheets in there for my double City defence, and also Kyle Walker, if he came up with an attack and return, it would be absolutely legendary. Gerard Concello stayed in the team, of course, after his 7-pointer last week. Hopefully get more attacking returns against this leaky Bournemouth team, because I honestly feel that getting down the sides, Gerard Concello can do a lot. He's got the number 7 shirt. Whether that plays in more midfield positions, I don't know. But I still feel wherever he is on the pitch, he can offer attacking threat. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do this week. And then Andrew Robertson as my differential Liverpool pick. A lot of people have been flocking to Darwin Núñez, and they're going to be hoping that he starts on Monday night against Crystal Palace. But Robertson, for me, is looking like a great pick. Obviously, Palace last week defensively were a bit suspect. And, you know, you look at someone like Zinchenko last week, was able to get down the spaces. And hopefully Robertson will do just that as left back. So let's see if the Scot can deliver, the Flying Scotsman. In midfield then, we've gone with Mohamed Salah as vice-captain. Obviously, Crystal Palace, he's got a great fixture record against. However, he has never scored in Game Week 2, but don't let that confuse you. Mohamed Salah is a fantastic FPL option and always will be the king of FPL. So, look, that is a game I certainly see Salah doing well in. Whether he'll get as much of a haul as Erling Harland is the debate this week, but I feel that with the fact it's Crystal Palace, who sometimes can be defensively astute, and also Liverpool have the pressure on the Monday night. Let's see if they can rise to that. But I think Salah's still a great option for this week. Looking at Martinelli then, Leicester City is a good fixture because Leicester as a defence are still quite suspect. As I said with Danny Ward, it's just they're going to work out that goalkeeper situation. If they sign a new goalkeeper, then obviously Ward doesn't become an option. But to be honest, I'll probably play Sanchez most weeks anyway. So it's just nice to have an option if Leicester don't sign a goalie. But you know, right now, Leicester are still a leaky defence. We saw that last week with the way they kind of imploded from 2-0 up. So Martinelli will certainly fancy his chances at home. And after the goal last week, we'll be looking to follow that up. And I'm really excited to see what he can do this week. Looking at Pedro Neto then, Fulham at home. Obviously hoping to get a haul this game week after his blank last week. But it's a nice home fixture. It's a promoted side. And hopefully Neto can do the business as he did the last time he faced Fulham at home at Molineux, got a goal, and obviously I remember my very, very painful memories of last owning Neto before this FPL season. I owned him in 20 to 21. I think it was game week 33 or something like that, very late in the season. He had Fulham away, and in 33 minutes, he got injured and taken off. And it was just devastating because I transferred him in that week, and it turns out that injury ruled him out for the rest of the season. So he's got a lot of redemption to be done against Fulham, and hopefully this will be the game week for him to do that. Then Kulusevski, Chelsea away. Now, you look at that fixture and you think, oh, maybe not, but honestly, Kulusevski, with the way he looked against Southampton, I don't doubt this kid. He looks fantastic. He looks so creative, and I think Spurs will fancy their chance against Chelsea because they looked quite off it against Everton, and Spurs looked on fire. So he's still very differential compared to other Tottenham assets, still around about 10% owned, so he's going to still get me loads of points. Obviously, last week was 6.6% differential, so, there was a bit more of a differential. But, he rose me about 120k, I think, in terms of places. That just shows how much of a difference it makes. But he could still get me a lot of hauls, because not many people will be bringing him in this game week because of the fact he's got Chelsea, which is quite a tricky fixture. So therefore, it's a good option, but let's see what he can do. And we're going to kind of keep him probably for the long term with those nice fixtures coming up against Wolves and Nottingham Forest. So looking at our front two then, Erling Harland, big surprise, not. We've captained him against Bournemouth. It just had to be done. It was one of those game weeks where you looked at the fixtures pre-season, you saw that fixture penciled in and you thought, that's got to be a captain. And actually that controversy with the Premier League replying to the tweet from Man City saying Bournemouth won't have to wait long to face Haaland. Well, they didn't mean game week 1. They meant game week 2. And therefore, we just know what's going to happen. Bournemouth, they're going to do their best to stay compact and stay in the game. But City create chances for this guy. And he is going to hopefully get a big haul. So it just makes much more logical sense. Despite the fact it's going to be, in the 30-degree heat at Manchester compared to a Monday night 8 o'clock kickoff. Bournemouth will get tired from the heat probably. And City, do they ever get tired? And this guy is a machine. So let's just not doubt him for this one. Jesus against Leicester. Great fixture in my opinion because Leicester are pretty leaky most of the time. And look, hopefully Jesus will come home with that haul and make up for the blank he got in game week 1. Then looking at the bench very quickly, we've got Danny Ward on the subs bench this time, mate. I'm sorry. You just didn't do the business last week, but it is what it is. I don't expect much from you as a 4 million goalie. Andreas is also on the bench. I'm very tempted to play him this week, but I just don't think it's worth it when you've got Pedro Neto there, who's probably more explosive and more likely to score. But Andreas has certainly got points potential and routes to points with those free kicks and corners. So I could see Andreas doing well this week, but for me, I feel like he's one to just kind of wait and see, rather than start a 4.5 million midfielder. And then after that, we've got Niko Williams, home to West Ham. Now, Forest, I actually feel could get something from that, but I feel like West Ham are a very good team. They're probably going to score, in my opinion, and therefore it's not worth starting Nico, but he's certainly one to watch for the future game weeks when the run of fixtures is a bit kinder for Forest. And then also we've got Cameron Archer at home to Everton. I don't think he's going to start. I'd be very surprised if he did. So therefore, he's going to be on my bench. And that is my Game Week 2 selection for FPL 2022 to 23. I hope you have enjoyed watching this Game Week 2 preview and obviously looking back a little bit at Game Week 1. As you can see on the right there are my previous FPL finishes. And hopefully this season can be our best yet. We're looking to get an overall rank goal of top 80k. Let's see if we can get that, or if not, ideally win the whole game, which is ideally, I think, what it might be. I'm joking, but of course we always have to dream. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.